All right, here we go. We have Washington, D.C. street legend Curtbone in the building. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Man, glad to be here, man. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of stories, about D.C. We had people like Ears the Christ. We had people like Teflon Sean. And, I feel like we really need to talk to you to kind of fill in the blanks in some of the story as well. As well as the Rayful Edmond story that we've touched on from time to time, but you're the first person that actually worked directly with him. So I want to get into all that. But before we get into that, I want to start in the very beginning. So you're born and raised in Washington, D.C.
Correct, yeah. Langston Terrance, Northeast Washington, D.C.
Okay, and that's like the oldest projects in D.C.?
Yeah, the oldest federal housing project in D.C., the second in the country.
Wow. Okay. When did that actually get put together?
I might be a year or two off. I think like 1934, 32, 34, something like that.
Wow. So it's really, really old. Almost 100 years old.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what was D.C. like in the 70s and 80s?
Well, in the 70s, D.C. was, definitely chocolate city. 90%, 100% damn the chocolate city. Very family oriented, you know what I'm saying? We got a little saying, DC or nothing, you know what I'm saying? Everything was just, chocolate city. Back then you had a lot of little stuff going on as far as, you had a lot of black business. The Asians didn't really infiltrate as strong. They probably was in spots where they was there, but you're seeing a lot of black business, whether it be liquor stores, carryouts, et cetera, cleaners. Our presence was real strong. Okay,
and in terms of your home life, did you grow up, family struggling, or were you guys relatively okay?
Now, we was relatively okay. My mother kept a government job. My stepfather kept a job. We was pretty cool, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people around me were struggling, but we were pretty cool. We wasn't well off, but we was probably 60%, 70% doing better than the average family in that community.
Okay, so you're doing relatively okay, but at one point you felt like you needed to do some illegal things to make some extra money.
Just being in the jungle, you know what I'm saying, just being in that environment, sometimes, it walk in your path, you know what I'm saying? So coming up, I was a dude, I was like the leader of my community as far as fighting and doing other stuff. So I already was leadership. So everybody I'm leading was very, very hungry. They was doing a little bad and I wasn't doing great myself, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of me wanting to get a couple of dollars and enhance my buddies. So that's what I really started off with, you know what I'm saying? I always admired the street dudes.
Okay, and at 12 years old, right around 1981, that's when you really started hustling?
Yeah, I probably started hustling far like with the weed and all that, but I did other little stuff before then, just trying to make a couple of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Little penny dollar hustles.
Okay, so you started with weed in 81, and that's a relatively easy hustle. There's not a lot of violence around it and so forth. So how did that go initially?
It was smooth selling because, somebody really had the system in place. It was just a matter of me being right there to facilitate when the people come. So it wasn't, I ain't had to go put my whole blueprint down. It was already laid there for me.
Okay, so you were working for an older guy.
Yeah, I was getting it from an older guy, right. And he already had clientele he established. He graduated where he can lead the position and I filled it.
Okay, well, at one point, the weed turned into PCP?
It turned to PCP. That was probably like, I don't know, probably 84, 85 or something like that.
Okay. And right around that time, is that when crack is actually hitting DC?
Yeah, it's easing in there. It ain't really show its ugly face to probably 86. You know what I'm saying? Strongly. Right there, we still was coming off the Love Boat era. Before Love Boat, they was doing the dust. Even before dust, they was doing something they call whack. That's, some shit they was creating down there, spraying all type of crazy stuff on there.
Okay. Now with PCP, people really do insane things when high off PCP. People, watch the Friday movie and they see like, Chris Tucker run around the chicken coop and run around with his underwear, but that's some real shit. I interviewed a dude named Christbearer who ended up cutting off his own penis while high on PCP. Like really insane things happen. So here you are selling it. Are you dealing with the addicts and some of the insanity that comes with it?
Yeah, because it's right there, you know what I'm saying? So you seeing the effects of it, you know what I'm saying? That the PCP, it made people their body get real hot. So in turn, it caused them to take their clothes off. So it grew a nickname what they call butt naked, you know what I'm saying? So, and also the hallucination And, guys for some reason, they get real strong too when they high off the PCP. So you was right there. So you seen it.
Like, what was the craziest shit that you saw with people on PCP?
With my eyes, probably somebody run down the street, butterball naked, chasing somebody. That was probably the weirdest thing. The crazy thing I didn't see, but a lady had cut her baby up and put it in the freezer, and at that point right there, I think that kind of changed the laws where they started putting more time on it. So so that's when it got kind of crazy. But I didn't witness that.
A baby was cut up by her own mother while high off PCP and put in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, like what? I can't even imagine, what you must be going through in order to do something like that.
Yeah, she wasn't in her right state of mind. That's the PCP had her out of her mind.
Okay, and was heroin still big in the streets?
Yeah, heroin was like the grandfather of the streets, you know what I'm saying? That was there from the beginning, you know what I'm saying? It always stick its head around. It's like if you see a fast food, you're going to see Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, but you're always going to see a Kentucky Fried somewhere.
Okay, and were you messing around with heroin at all or not really?
I dabbled in it for 1 second, but I end up, it wasn't a choice of mine because it was too visual for me, you know what I'm saying? Where you actually seeing effects going early in the morning, somebody needed to get up, you know what I'm saying? You're seeing their house in shambles, you're seeing kids, what they're not eating. So my stomach wasn't really tough enough for that.
Once again, another very serious drug. Like if you're strung out on heroin, you will do anything to get another hit. Right. It doesn't matter who you have to kill. Mm. You'll rob from your own mother. You'll beat up your best friend. Anything in order to get a hit because your body's going through like a sickness. Like, it needs more of it.
Right.
So you dabbled in it and you were like, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah. I actually stayed involved in it for 2 days. I was done with it in 48 hours.
Okay. But then the cocaine came around?
The crack came around. Powder was around, then the crack came right after that. First it was like powder shake.
Okay, so were you selling cocaine or actually rock cocaine?
And I ended up started off with powder.
Okay. And that was more kind of like a rich man's drug around that time.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Right. People actually maintain good jobs and everything else like that. And they would go get some cocaine on the weekend and party and so forth.
Right, yeah.
But crack was a bit different.
Yeah, crack was a whole different animal. It was a whole different animal. You know what I'm saying? And some people relate the crack just to being cooked up coke, but really it had its own little mixture. You know what I'm saying? The cooked up coke was a substitute.
Right. And the effects of crack didn't really hit right away. People were functional crack addicts until some years had passed. So a lot of these cities, they really weren't ready for it. They just thought, okay, just another drug, recreational drug, whatever. They didn't really see what was happening until 2, 3, 4 years down the line.
Exactly. Yeah, it snuck up on people, like you say. It took a while for it to get to everybody's system where you can see the side effects of it.
Okay. Now, here you are, you're still, relatively young. And was Rayful Edmond already like a big figure in D.C.?
Not at that age. Not at that age. If you're talking 83 to 85, no, probably late part of 85 or 86, you start hearing his name more on a citywide level.
Okay, and how did the two of you actually meet?
A couple of his friends from around his neighborhood got transferred to my high school. They got put out their high school, and we got into a big altercation with them, and we kind of got the best of the situation, and they went, told him. We ended up having a meeting, and it kind of started from there.
Okay. And at that point, did Rayful become your plug?
Eventually, yeah, he did. Eventually, yes, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay. And over the next few years, Rayful became just a massive figure in the D.C. drug game, essentially being the biggest drug dealer in D.C., right?
That's what they say, definitely.
He allegedly supplied 60% of the cocaine in D.C.
Yeah, based on the testimony or the investigation of the government, yeah.
Right. They're saying that he's making $300 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, me being in the game, I wouldn't say that was true.
Okay, if you were to guess how much money that organization was making.
It'd be hard, you know what I'm saying? I'm a type of dude who don't want to be outlandish and I don't want to underbid it, right? But you got to keep in mind, when you hear those numbers, no matter if you're hearing it from D.C., L.A., wherever, the government do their numbers based on to the last bag, dime bag. So they say 100 keys, they're going to do the multiplication off every dime bag in there, and then they're going to get that number out. But and I know, If somebody give me a key and I sell it to somebody else, I only might have got a couple thousand off that sale, and everybody make money down the line.
Right. Obviously, Rayful Edmond was not, backing up every single kilo he was coming, he was having and so forth. Right.
But it's safe to say, though, you'll be hard pressed to find somebody anywhere in the country that was getting more money than him. I'll say that.
Okay. And as he started to grow, what was your role in the organization?
Now, I never was a part of the organization. From day one, I was an independent contractor. You know what I'm saying? He had his strip and dudes he deal with directly. You know what I'm saying? My first initial with him was I got work and I took it where I took it and moved it. You know what I'm saying? So now I never worked it for him.
Okay. But you were getting product from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Along with the money that was coming in, it was a very violent organization. They were saying that there were up to 30 murders that were committed under his reign.
Yeah, again, that's what the government say, but I know you can't believe everything they say. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And they're also saying that his crew was up to 150 people.
No, I don't. That's not true.
Okay. How big do you think his crew was at its height?
20, 25.
Okay, relatively small. Okay. Well, right around 87, that's when you really hit your run?
Around 87, that's when I probably went to a whole nother level, you know what I'm saying? But like I say, I was living off the land since 82.
Okay, so what happened in 87?
The Rayful relationship grew, you know what I'm saying? He ended up getting a hell of a plug from LA dude and that had a straight connection to Columbus. So of course the work was heavy then.
Okay. So at your height, how many keys were you buying at a time?
Yeah, well, I'd rather keep that to myself right there, but it was a whole lot, you know what I'm saying? It was a whole lot. I'll say that 2 or 3 dudes that I was serving ended up getting kingpin charges in other cities, in Virginia and other different cities.
Okay. Well, you mentioned in one of your interviews that during that time in D.C., death was in the air. And any little infraction would really cause just the worst effects in terms of murders and killing and everything else like that. Describe that environment and how bad things were getting during that time.
Yeah, it was tough, you know what I'm saying? Because at the time when crack hit, it ended up bringing guests into the house. When I say guests, you're talking out of town as far as like New York guys and Jamaica's guys. So when they came down, putting their flag down or trying to put their flag down, it caused frictions and beefs. And in turn, people start getting a lot of money. Just imagine what you're saying right now today with all the killing. And if you say all these crews that you're saying, all this killing around the city, around the country, had real money with their movement. So that's what you got pictured in the 80s. A whole bunch of killing, but dudes got money while they doing it.
Okay. I mean, you personally, in terms of what you were involved with, were people around you getting killed?
Yeah, people around me was getting killed. Yeah, people around me getting killed. People I know was getting killed. It was the murder capital at that time, probably 2 or 3 years in a row. And then, you got to keep in mind, PG County had murder. That wasn't even our count, but it was still the same action. So that wasn't even coming into our count.
Okay. And at one point, Alpo, who was from Harlem, started to go to D.C. and started to make his connections in your city. So when did you actually meet Alpo?
Like I said, I probably technically met him probably about 86 or something like that, but we started our relationship got a little close, probably like the late part of 87, going to 88. Well, 88, I'm gonna say 88.
Okay, so when you first met Alpo, what'd you think?
I didn't think. I already seen him moving around. I already had people that was close up on him that was giving me the opinion of him. So I know some girls he dealt with. Again, my man was fucking with him. I mean, when I first met him, he was chill. You know, he was chill. Okay,
so there's other, outside of Rayful, of course, there's other DC guys that are moving around and making moves and so forth. One of them was Ears the Christ, who I recently interviewed. How did you and Ears get to know each other?
I met Ears the Christ through my man, Andre Tank.
Yeah, Andre Tank Johnson.
I knew Ears as a young guy, but we started interacting through Andre, but I knew of him,
Okay, so So how did you and Andre get to know each other?
Through somebody that I was serving, that was his partner. So, so I ended up meeting Andre through his initial partner.
Okay, and were you guys actually working together and doing business, or just kind of a casual relationship?
Yeah, no, he was one of my customers.
Aha, so you were basically his plug.
Yeah, you could say that. That plug word tickled me though, but you could say that.
Okay. All right, and then right around 89, you ended up introducing Alpo to Ears the Christ and Andre Tank Johnson.
Yeah, 89, April, probably about the summer 89. But I was incarcerated when it happened. My ears might have had a timeline messed up. He said something about on the streets. It didn't happen that way. I introduced it to him to Tank when I was incarcerated.
We pumping so much CB, like, man, I'm gonna turn y'all on to a good dude. You feel me? So we was like, we don't care. We was pumping so much. Kirk like, CB like going out. So we pulled up on him one night. He was trying to take his lady to the movies. We had to beg him to go get some shit for us. He said, we don't sleep. We trying to get paid. We trying to get rich. So he did it. He came back, gave us the shit. The next day he was like, man, I'm gonna turn y'all on to my man. He a good man. Y'all a good man. So he introduced us to Alpo the Rat.
Alpo Martinez.
Alpo the Rat. That's what I called him. Yep.
Okay. So is this you being incarcerated over the whole Rayful Edmond suite that was happening?
Right, yeah. I got locked up. I was indicted. I mean, we're not indicted. Was locked up April 89, for the Rayful Edmond case at that time.
Okay. So essentially, okay, I see what you're saying. So you were already off the street and you just kind of made a connection while you were locked up.
Right, yeah. Tank actually, reached out to me and say what he think about saying, doing some business with him. I said, he getting a few joints. You know what I'm saying? You could do something with him. He ain't a bad guy. And they end up, bond a relationship at that point.
Okay, so let's talk about this bust in '89.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the largest drug case in D.C. history, AKA the Rayful Edmond case.
Mm-hmm.
So what led up to all these indictments and arrests and everything else like that?
The FBI laid down their investigation through this lady, Ray Zanville, a white lady that Ray was dealing with, ended up working with the police. So she ended up infiltrating, but wearing a wire and, talking to his mother, talking to friends and family members, and was getting a lot of information and taking it back to the government, and they built their case around that.
Okay. So when they actually built their case, how many people were arrested?
I forgot the exact number. It was either 30 or 29 or 31, and one of those numbers.
Okay. And you were one of those 30?
Yeah.
Okay. So you get arrested, you get indicted for conspiracy, murder after the fact, the gun that was used in the murder, and with all that, you're facing 35 to life?
Exactly.
Okay. And you're how old at the time? Like 20 years old?
20. Yep. Just turned 20.
Okay. So how does a 20-year-old react to hearing 35 to life? That's more years. That's damn near twice as many years you've been alive at this point.
Yeah, isn't that a good thing to hear? Definitely, you know what I'm saying? But I was a different 20. Not saying I was a super tough guy, but I was around a lot of older dudes as young, running errands for the trap house and different things like that. So having those conversations in that situation, it wasn't foreign to me. So I was just trying to figure out what's the best way to try to beat these people.
Okay. And I'm assuming, just like it always happens in in law enforcement, when they arrest you, they offer you, hey, listen, you're not the main guy that we're going after. We're going after Rayful. So, hey, cooperate, give us some information. We'll make that 35 turn into 1 or 2 years or get off with probation. Were you offered that in the beginning?
Right, yeah. Now, that's a lot of TV shit people be saying. That don't normally happen. The government when they come and get you the feds, they did their homework. They got their case already wrapped up. So they already know who they can ask those questions to and who they can't ask those questions to. So if they doing their investigation, they'll pinpoint, we can ask Joe Blow this, but we can't ask Hurry that. And I was a Hurry dude.
Yeah, 98% conviction rate.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Joe Blows, but there's some Hurries on there too, though. So they're gonna get some help. That's why they gang up a lot of people to hope somebody can break. But they don't act.
Okay,
They don't bring everybody in for interrogation. I mean, trying to make them help themselves. That's a lot of TV stuff right there.
Okay, so you were never offered to cooperate.
Nah.
Okay, so but here you are, 20 years old, facing life in prison. Worst case. Did you have lawyer money at the time?
Yeah.
Okay. How much did you spend on your lawyer?
I think it was like 85 or 90.
Okay, damn near $100,000.
Yeah.
It's interesting how many people live this type of life and they get arrested, and then they go and get a public defendant. You know what I'm saying? And like don't prepare for which is often the inevitable situation of getting arrested. But you actually had put aside a good amount of money to get the best lawyer to actually protect you.
Right, yeah. Like I say, fortunately, I was raised by older cats that already been around the barn.
Okay, so they were telling you, like, just keep stacking money on the side because, you know.
Yeah. They don't actually tell you. They tell you, but you ear hustle enough and you see enough stories that be around and you get 2 + 2 is 4.
Okay, so they offer you the 35 to life. And then, you know, what happens in most cases is as you get closer and closer to the trial date, they start to kind of chip that number down and so forth, right?
No, they trying to get every day out your ass. They ain't trying to trip you down, like you said, unless you give them some assistance or something like that, right? But you know,
well, I mean, no, in terms of plea deals, like usually the plea deal
right,
is
right. They offer you plea deals. Okay, I got you.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So your first plea deal was how much?
My first plea that they offered me was like it was like a lesser conspiracy, keep me attached to the case. I forgot what it's called. It was a lesser conspiracy. I forgot the number they called it. So that was the first joint they gave me. And I turned that one down. And I turned it down because I based on my own decision, I ain't want my other co-defendant to say you went early, you hurt us. So I turned that one down.
Okay. Well, the murder after the fact indictment, what was that about?
Oh yeah.
And sorry. Before you actually answer that, what does that even mean? Murder after the fact? I've never even heard that before.
Right. That means if somebody kills somebody right now, and he leave and go somewhere, and he get around you, they give you the accessory after the fact to the murder. So if I kill somebody right now in this studio and go get in my car, and somebody down there with me in the car, they gonna put them to the case and say you was guilty by after the fact. And they use the same gun used in the case also that the person might have used.
Okay. And they try to tie you to that. So basically, they're saying that someone else killed someone and then went to go hang out with you afterwards?
Right, yeah. Well, what actually happened is someone, put their work in, and then they went all the way across town, and they ended up getting in the car with me. The person who dropped them off across town caught a case 6 or 7 months ago, and he told them the whole situation from the murder all the way to where a seller went at. So that's how I got tied into the case.
Oh, okay. But it has to be more than just you go hang out with someone. Do they try to prove that after the murder they talked to you about the murder and you knew about it and everything else like that?
No.
You see what I'm trying to say? Because you can go get into a cab after a murder and decide the cab driver gonna get tied into it.
But you and the cab don't got no relationship. They ain't been investigating you and the cab driver. Y'all been on the same calls and hanging out and all that type of stuff.
Okay, so basically they're trying to say you're part of this murder conspiracy in some sort of way.
You gotta keep in mind they investigate, then they trying to put the conspiracy together. You know what I'm saying? All this happened during the same timeline.
Okay, and during this time, did they give you bail or are you sitting in jail?
Nah, they didn't. No bail. Was in jail.
Okay, because what, you were a flight risk?
I mean, they consider all of us a flight risk just because, the nature of the case and the notoriety of it.
Okay, so how long are you sitting in jail while this whole case is kind of developing?
I sat the whole time until they came up with my sentence, and I ended up, going to do my time. But they probably the trial. I probably settled D.C. jail, what they call on the AS, for probably 14, 15 months.
Okay. And by this time, is this the first time you're actually getting locked up?
Yeah. I got locked up before, but I never did no jail time as a juvenile.
Got it. Okay. So here you are locked up for a year and some change, and your lawyer is doing what he does. Mm-hmm. And eventually they get the offer down to just money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you a plea deal to that.
Exactly.
Were you actually money laundering during this time, or was it just something they gave you just so they can get something on you?
Yeah, no. In money laundering, people look at money laundering straight from a business aspect. But money laundering can mean that if you take some illegal money, if I go gamble on the street and win $50,000 and I go open a business, I just launder that money. So it was a parenthesis in there for gambling. My defense, defense to my lawyer was I was a gambler. I never meant to do nothing but gambling. So we end up using that same theory to go there. Actually, the government didn't even offer that to me. We put that together and proposed it to them because they kept on trying to offer me all these deals. So we figured out something to take to them.
Okay, so you basically said, I'm not a drug dealer, I'm a gambler. All this money came from gambling. I'll admit to using gambling money to try to start legitimate businesses, and which will take me out of this whole Rayful Edmond kind of umbrella of drug dealing and murder and everything else like that.
Right, exactly. Right. And by record, I'm not, if you pull up the files, I'm not even part of their case. They actually dropped my Rayful Edmond case, and I pleaded guilty to money laundering. I created my own charge for them.
Okay. And were you using money to actually start businesses, which is how the money laundering thing even came together, or no?
No, this is just the gambling aspects of it. The gambling was enough.
Okay, got it. Okay. So you went from 35 to life to getting 51 months.
Yeah, 51 months, exactly.
4 years, 3 months.
Right. And
you're 20, 21 at the time?
Yeah, I started off at 20, so I don't know probably 21 when I went to the feds, probably, I'm assuming.
Okay. So you take this deal for 4 years and 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Rayful Edmond, at the same time, is going through a very different type of case, though.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up getting life in prison.
Mm-hmm.
When you heard about Rayful getting life, what'd you think?
That was a shitty deal. I thought it was crazy, you know what I'm saying? But, again, I knew that was the end game what they were trying to do, but I thought it was a crazy thing to get them boys life for selling drugs.
Well, even at that level? I mean, providing 60% of all the drugs, making hundreds of millions of dollars, but tens of millions, however you want to say it.
Yeah, but that's the same people that say you made 80 million, a week or a month or something? So, just like you said, after factual murder, because somebody jumped in your car across town. So it's their game. They make the rules. You just got to don't get caught in their rules.
Well, he gets life in prison, and his mother gets 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
And is that because of the white girl that was recording the mom and everything else like that?
Yeah. The stuff that she had on the wiretap and, things that she said, it hurt her.
Okay. So he gets his case. He starts his prison term, but he continues to sell drugs in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So then he gets an extra 30 years on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1996, it actually gets revealed that he became a government informant.
Mm-hmm.
Were you surprised that he turned informant?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. Definitely.
Okay. I mean, how close were you guys before you got locked up?
Super close. Probably like brothers.
Okay. What was it about Rayful that was different from everyone else that really allowed him to get to that level?
Because a lot of people that got the means and the connection like that don't really want to see other people eat. So he was trying to let everybody eat. So that made him different, and that just alone, trying to make sure everybody ate.
Right, but with his cooperation, 11 other alleged drug dealers ended up getting arrested.
Yeah, but you talking past 96. I'm talking in my era. So what's your question about that time?
Okay, yeah. Sorry. I'm jumping around a little bit. My apologies. Okay, so let's just jump back to 1996 again.
Okay.
So he starts to cooperate, and the story's a little fuzzy around his cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, I remember I saw a documentary where they're saying he cooperated because the agreement was that they would let his mother out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did you hear the same thing?
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Okay. He cooperates, his mother gets out of prison, but with his cooperation, 11 other people end up going to prison.
Right.
Did you know any of those 11 guys?
Yeah. Yep. I knew probably all of them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you feel that 11, one guy that you know, was like your brother went and snitched on 11 other people that you knew that were probably just living their life. And I don't know whether they were retired at this point or not, but you know, when that happened, how big of an impact was that to you?
It crushed me, you know what I'm saying? Because I always feel like that he was going to play the game all the way to the end, you know what I'm saying? Actually, when he was doing his time from 89 to that point, that was something that a lot of DC dudes laid their head on, that he got life without parole, his mother, aunt, everybody in, and he still held up. So when that news came down the pipe, it was hard to believe.
Right. And because of him doing that, he actually went into witness protection within the prison system. So they put him in a totally different prison and changed his name and everything else like that. And he's somewhere in the country at some prison somewhere, basically, like I've never even heard of witness protection within the prison program, but I guess this is a real thing.
Yeah. But it's a few, Joe. I know when I was in Otisville, used to they have a population side and they have a side for informants. So it might be a couple of jails. They might have a whole nother side that's trapped off, that they don't think they be having a whole bunch of separate jails all over the place just for informants. Some joints they just got it on the side where they never interact.
Right. Okay. So let's just jump back to your story again. So you end up taking the 51 months and they take you to Oakdale, Louisiana?
Yeah, El Reno, Oklahoma, then to Oakdale, Louisiana.
All right. So you get locked up, but DC is still on fire. And, I know that you weren't there to actually witness all this stuff, but people that you knew were really going through some really serious issues in the streets. So in 1990, Alpo ends up killing Rich Porter along with Big Head Gary. And Big Head Gary is a DC guy, right?
Yeah.
You knew Gary?
Yeah, I knew Gary.
Okay. So tell me about Gary and what his reputation was and so forth.
He was, good little dude, you know what I'm saying? Not little and belittling, but he was a cool dude. Just getting him a couple of hours trying to figure it out. Right.
So Alpo, after the murder of Rich Porter, ends up basically running away to DC because Harlem was, basically a mess at this point because of how many people really loved Rich Porter. He goes to DC and he links up with Wayne Perry. And you know Wayne Perry as well.
Yeah, I know Wayne.
Okay. And was Wayne always considered like an enforcer or a hitman in DC?
I mean, I just knew, he was one of the guys that's a thorough dude that, did what he had to do. But we have a lot of guys down there like that. So we didn't title guys like that. You know what I'm saying? That's government language.
Got it. Well, then in 1991, Alpo has Big Head Gary kill Andre Tank Johnson, who is your man.
Yeah, that's my man.
You're locked up while this is happening.
Yeah.
But you hear the news.
Yeah.
Did you know, when Andre Tank Johnson got killed, did you know in prison that Alpo or Gary were connected to it or no?
The streets be talking, so, prison get it sometimes faster than the streets do.
Okay. How did you take that news? Because you and Tank were actually close.
Well, yeah. I was fucked up at that. I was fucked up at that. And that's that moment when I got that news. That's what made me cut him off and never spoke to him again. Just on that right there.
Alpo.
Right.
Okay, because were you and Alpo still in contact up to that point?
Before then, yeah. He used to come up DC jail to see me. You got to understand, people keep saying he came to DC after Wayne. He was down DC probably since 86 or something like that. So he didn't just come to DC. He was down, you got a pre-Alpo, you got a post-Alpo. You know what I'm saying? So the pre-Alpo was on best behavior. He wasn't doing none of that shit that, he was doing. So, you know what I'm saying?
Right around this time, Alpo and Wayne Perry are essentially going on a killing spree in DC. Along with Tank Johnson getting killed, Alpo gets Demencio killed. And then Alpo and Wayne Perry end up killing a woman right by the White House, like a couple blocks away. And I mean, essentially it was just like murder after murder after murder after murder. Like, are you hearing about all this stuff?
Yeah, you
in
hearing
prison?
about it. Yeah, D.C. is a small town, so everybody into the loop of what's going on. You hearing about different stuff.
Oh, okay. And, but prior to that, Alpo was visiting you in D.C. and you guys were actually talking.
Right, You talking 1989, past 89, left the D.C. jail. Alpo he used to come and see me up there. He actually started coming to see me because when I left, he started feeling the tension and the pressure dudes trying to get up on him. So I'm in jail. I don't know what that look like, who it is, who it ain't is. So I had a little buddy named Little Pop that was real dangerous, and I just said, he about to come on. You let him ride with you. That'll keep the cheat off you. So Pop ended up walking in the Wayne.
Okay. Well, by November 7th, 1991, Alpo gets arrested in D.C. And that's when all the charges start to actually hit him.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hit with 14 counts of murder, as well as, drug charges, conspiracy charges, and everything else like that. He was facing 7 life sentences or the death penalty. And instead of actually dealing with that, he ends up turning informant. He ends up admitting to 14 murders, 8 murders in D.C., 2 in Maryland, and 4 in New York. And the main person he testifies against is Wayne Perry. And with that cooperation, Wayne Perry gets 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
When you heard of that, what did you think?
I said, that's a hell of a pill to swallow right there. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was a hell of a pill to swallow.
Right. And for his cooperation, he gets his prison sentence reduced to 35 years.
Right. Yeah, that lets you know how the government play with it, that they favor you.
I mean, 14 murders.
Right, yeah. And that's crazy. That's actually crazy. You know what I'm saying?
So as you're doing your prison time, you do get into some altercations along the way.
Just a couple of little fight joints. And no blood was spilled. Well,
in the prison system, is there like the territorial beef of like, hey, these guys don't like DC and these guys don't like Baltimore, these guys don't like New York, because of, wars back home and so forth?
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of that going on in the prison system, you know what I'm saying? But, so our city in particular is one of the top of the cities that they really don't fuck with.
Okay. So how bad are the situations in prison? Is it just fist fights, or are there ever any attempts on your life or anything else like that?
On my life, I didn't have no attempts on it, but, I've seen people that had attempts on their life. I probably had 3 real quick joints, and actually 3 different places where I was at. And that was it. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep in mind, for the most part, DC prisoners, our older prisoners all the way back in the 60s and 50s, they laid it down so much. The red carpet really out there. You know what I'm saying? It's very similar. You really got to get some action unless you're just being overzealous.
Well, in 1993, you get out of prison.
Yes. Yeah.
After serving around 4 years?
Close to 4. I actually technically got out summer of 92, went to the halfway house.
Okay, well, didn't you end up getting out and then getting put back in?
Yeah, when I came home from jail, they locked me up probably about 3 or 4 months later on another drug charge, conspiracy.
Okay, so you get out, you're out for a couple of months, and then you get thrown back in prison for how long?
I probably stayed there about a month or 2, and they put me in the halfway house too. We went to court.
Okay, when you come out, this is 1993. At this point, the whole massacre had happened in D.C. Alpo's off the street, Wayne Perry's off the street, Big Head Gary's dead, Andre Tank Johnson is dead. How do you feel walking back into D.C. at this point?
I was happy to be home. You know what I'm saying? And that game right there, man, it's a war. You're gonna lose casualties.
Okay. And at that point, did you feel like you have to be done with the drug game altogether? Or do you feel like, oh, I'm just going to maybe dabble here and there to try to make a few ends meet? Or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, I was already mentally done before I came home. I already knew I was done with the game when I came out. I was, when I was putting my plans together and plots and plans together, I knew I was done already.
Okay, and what made you come to that conclusion?
Numerous reasons, but the main first reason was when I was over D.C. jail facing 35 to life, and when I actually say my prayers, I told God, I say, man, give me a shot to get back out on the streets with keeping my dignity and not cross no lines. I give life a fair chance. So that was the first thing. Then when I got out there, had a daughter in 1993, 94, that sealed the deal when I held her in my hands.
There you have it. And then at that point, you started promoting parties?
Yeah, promoting parties, start throwing parties, yeah.
I mean, although party promoting is, depending on who you are, it could be lucrative.
Yeah.
It's not like the drug game.
No.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, legal money and illegal money, the fact that you got to pay taxes and, everything else like that and do things properly as opposed to just moving weight. Was it an adjustment to try to basically deal with a lifestyle that, you can no longer get?
It wasn't adjusted for me like that, Vlad, because it wasn't the money that I used to get in the streets, but the money I was getting in my party, I was probably getting more than the average dude on the block. You know what I'm saying? I was throwing the biggest parties in D.C., so I was probably getting 100, 140, 50 a year. So that was enough to live on.
Okay. So you're making real legal money. I mean, did that feel good to finally really go legit?
That feel good as shit. You know what I'm saying? It feel good as shit. You know what I'm saying? Because the people betting against you, statistics say you're going to go back in once you leave out. So that was motivation. It feel good.
I mean, but being back in D.C., were there any sort of old beefs and, people that felt that you owed them money or you did them wrong or anything else like that?
Nah, I definitely owe nobody no money. But I didn't have no open beefs that I know about. You don't know, there's always some ghost somewhere that feel a certain type of way, but I ain't had nothing obvious.
Okay. Well, then fast forward to 2015, Alpo gets released from prison and goes into the witness protection program in Maine. Did you hear of Alpo getting released from prison? They were saying it so often before he actually released. You just kept hearing it. And then eventually, when somebody showed a picture of something, that's, I knew he was out there. But they were saying it. Right. And in 2018, he actually started to appear in Harlem.
Right, yeah.
Right. And that was at that point where he's basically like becoming like a little local celebrity again. Like he's taking pictures of people. He's riding around with like Christian Dior helmets on his motorcycle. He's going to parties and so forth. And it was really like everyone that knew the story, including myself, are looking at this going like, this is crazy. Like why, after all the people that he killed, all the people he told on, all the people he ripped off and slapped around and everything else like that, he's going back to that same area around all those same people to try to reclaim whatever glory he had in his heyday. Did that surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me, you know what I'm saying? Because I know he was a dude that was a freak for attention, you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't surprised. My buddies always say he home before he came home. I used to say he not home because he the type, if he home, he got not going to be resisted being seen. So him doing that wasn't no surprise to me. What surprised me was just you out on Halloween night when masks was normal to wear. That was a surprise to me.
Right. And on October 31st, 2021 at 3:30 a.m., Alpo Martinez was shot and killed while sitting in his car. As he's trying to drive away, he's throwing drugs out the window to try and get rid of the evidence, but ultimately dies before medical attention could get to him. Number one, when you heard that story, what did you think?
I thought it was bullshit. I thought it was bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Or he did a disgrace to a dude that was supposed to get money that was you come back home and you play on that level right there. So I thought it was bullshit. I thought the government was trying to clean up some of their work.
Meaning that they're trying to, that they killed him or that the government killed him or he didn't really die and they're trying to cover it up? And
right.
they're trying to just
I
put him
think
somewhere else.
I think they was just trying to justify why he died. Because at the end of the day, he still was under their watch. If he left the program or not, he was still out there because of their decision. So I think they wanted to make it seem like that, he went out his way to get killed, which he obviously did.
Well, the story actually ended up developing a little bit later. Because in the beginning, everyone thought, like, okay, this is maybe a close family member of someone he killed, or a close friend of someone he killed, or maybe he ripped off someone from a drug deal, 30 years ago, and they never let it go, and so forth. But then you start to find out the real reason, and it was actually kind of almost stupid, where I guess there was a road rage incident with just some random guy in Harlem. Mm-hmm. Something happened between the two of them where, I don't know, Alpo screamed at him or disrespected him or whatever else. Mm-hmm. And this guy basically, after they went through his phone later on, he had basically been like keeping track of Alpo and figuring out where he was and, sort of following him in a certain type of way. And then on Halloween night, he just happened to see him, pulled out a pistol and just unloaded on him and killed him. And I guess the guy is actually in Rikers right now, facing these charges. When you found out that's what happened, I mean, you heard the story, right?
Yeah, I ended up hearing that story, yeah.
When you found out that this is the way that he died, what did you think?
Man, like I tell everybody, man, all cubs be coming to lions, you know what I'm saying? So I think he slept on his prey, you know what I'm saying? And Shorty did his homework, and took him out of his misery.
Yeah, and at the time that he died, you didn't really see a lot of RIPs or, he's in a better place or, he's looking down at us right now smiling. Yeah. It's really like people were glad that he was dead. Right. Rich Porter's niece said, "We waited a long time for this day to come and we are happy. That's why we're out here celebrating, drinking champagne. Everybody's reaction right now is celebratory. It's a celebration for Harlem, period. Every dog has their day. Now my uncle can finally rest in peace 32 years later. It's just that pain my mother felt all these years. I've been feeling the pain with her. Every dog has their day, and today was his. I believe in karma, and I'm glad that I was here to witness it."
Right. Yeah.
I interviewed AZ Faisan, who was, his partner at one point. Mm-hmm. He felt that he just killed himself. That Alpo was a dude that just could not let go of the fame. He couldn't let go of him being a snitch. He wanted to prove people that he still somehow won in this game. Mm-hmm. And that's why he continued to hang out and be like on the block and everything else like mm-hmm. that. He could have really lived, if he had stayed in Maine the whole time in witness protection, mm-hmm. he'd be alive right now, eating a lobster roll, chilling.
If it happened, Alpo killed himself to me, bro. He killed himself, bro. He didn't accept the loss. You lost in the game. They put you in Maine, gave you a decent job. If it was me, if the shoe was on my foot, I would have stayed in Maine, worked my job, and stayed away from that world, period, bro. I got another chance, bro. All the shit I did, thank you, God, bro. I'm going to stay up here and try to create a whole new life. If someone want to do my story, get at me, make my money, and I would have never came back to this shit, bro.
Right, yeah. I can feel the Rich Porter family pain, you know what I'm saying, all the way down to the little boy got his finger cut off, right? But the Rich Porter joint kind of hit me a certain way, you know what I'm saying? I met him, we interacted 5 or 6 times, you know what I'm saying? And he actually, when I first ever met him, pulled me to the side when Alpo was running around driving a little Bronco with a loud horn, fucking with his little neighborhood. And he said, "Man, look, man, I don't know a lot about you. I heard a lot about you, man, but he don't know what type of town he is. Whatever you do, man, try to look out for him, man, because he get a little happy-go-lucky." So to me, I thought that was honorable for him to pull over, a dude basically blanket and emphasize that. So when I heard he killed him, it fucked me up.
So you're saying that Rich Porter was actually looking out for Alpo and making sure that he's good with the people around him,
Right,
only to have the same guy.
Right, that's his first time meeting me. He only heard of me through Alpo with some girls that he was dealing with in D.C. after he did his research. So he pulled me to the side. Was like, man, do me a favor, man. Just look out for him, man. You know what I'm saying? He a little wild, a little happy-go-lucky. And I just thought that was special. I always had a special point for him in my heart for shorty.
Right. And were you actually doing business with Rich Porter as well?
No. I just every time I go up there, we just kick it. We'd meet up and just chop it and kick it a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah. I mean, everyone loved Rich Porter. I mean, when Rich Porter died, it was like a tragedy in Harlem. And here's this guy that's like looking out for Alpo, only to have Alpo kill him over some money, really.
Right, yeah. It was a shitty excuse too.
Yeah. Well, here you are, you're almost, 20, damn near 30 years out of the drug game.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at DC now, and you look at sort of what happened over the years, do you feel any level of guilt in terms of what you were doing, back in the 80s, in terms of the drugs that were being pushed through the neighborhood and the effects that crack ultimately had? Or do you feel like, well, if I didn't do it, someone else would have done it?
No, I feel like an idiot. I feel fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Actually the work I do every day is based on the fact of what I did to the town or played a part of doing to the town. So I don't feel like, I feel like an idiot.
You don't hear too many people saying that.
Yeah. Well, I was trained to take responsibility.
Well, why do you think that the majority of people to this day, even people in their 50s and 60s, I mean, I would say probably about 80% of the people I interview who are in similar positions as you usually say, hey man, if I didn't sell it to them, there's a guy right next to me that would have sold it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't make anyone take these drugs. They came to me to buy it. I didn't put a gun to their head. People like doing drugs. I was just the facilitator. Why do you think most people take that route as opposed to saying, I feel like an idiot and I did the wrong thing?
Yeah, I mean, personally, if I had to guess, I say some people tell themselves what they need to do to go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So, with me, I just like to deal with reality and deal with what's facts. You know what I'm saying? If it can't be questioned. Statistics say that you're seeing the side effects from it now. When you see all these drive-bys in Philly and D.C. and Chicago, that's a side effect from that.
Do you feel like D.C. is worse now, about the same, or overall better?
Worse.
Why is that? Because
the youngest, like I say, with the crack taking them mothers and fathers out of the house, they freestyling, you know what I'm saying? At least when we was doing shit, it wasn't no better or worse. If we had more killings, we still was able to have some type of understanding from an old dude pulling you over, you know what I'm saying, to quiet some stuff, you know what I'm saying? And plus, when we was the murder capital, again, not making killing cool on no level. The majority of people, a lot of people was getting killed was in the game. Now, to the day, you got babies and women getting killed at a high rate, you know what I'm saying? So we made it worse.
I mean, yeah, unfortunately, that's true, And like I said, back then, people didn't really know what crack was or the long-term effects of it or anything else like that. It was just, hey, here's just this new hustle. We could take this, ounce of cocaine and turn it into way more and make way more money off of it. And everyone's buying it up and we're young, we're teenagers, we just want to buy some new Jordans and maybe get a car.
And you gotta understand, crack was an easy hustle. It ain't take no hustle skills to do it. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is be in a building that got 6 units or more, and you ain't even got to come outside and make money. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the crack opened the streets up to everybody getting the game that wasn't even planning on getting the game, and it was a side effect of that also.
Yeah, no, exactly. So what's next for you at this point?
Oh, yeah, right now, just raising my kids. I mean, they grown now. You know what I'm saying? My all days TV on YouTube. I'm doing, I'm watching your moves, seeing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? The other guys, that's doing the same thing. Shout out to them. I don't know if we can get shouts to your show, but
go ahead.
Yeah, watching that. Yeah, the Gully TV, the $1 Million Offer Game. All those guys. I'm watching everybody what they doing, and I'm trying to, put my shit on the level. But I'm just kind of come from a different perspective. You know what I'm saying? Because usually a lot of guys on your side of the camera, they really talking a lot so they didn't experience, which is not a bad thing. I just want to get a point of view from some guy who actually lived it and played on all levels. So, and opens and help get somebody some of their stories out there so they can be able to eat. You know what I'm saying? Some, clothing companies, hair salon, whatever. So, I want to use my fame for that. That's why I threw parties.
Well, I mean, this is the right time to do it. I mean, with YouTube, which wasn't around, 15 years ago, it actually allows everyone to come in with their own, unique perspective on things. And I mean, I didn't come from a street, from the streets or whatever else, but I bring in people and I have them tell their perspective and I ask the questions, I guide the interviews. And, it provides a certain level of perspective from people who grew up like me, who've always heard about this stuff, but never actually experienced it. But, there's people like you that can come in with a totally different perspective, with a different set of questions, and a different, sort of blueprint in terms of how you guys do your interviews, and everyone could be just as successful.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's room. The earth is big. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's plentiful. It's room for a lot of people to eat. You know what I'm saying? So, you just got to find a lane. You know what I'm saying? When I did a study of your show, I got a lot of calls just knowing I was coming up here. When I did the analytics on it, everybody I'm trying to reach follow your show. So I said, I got to get on there because my audience there. So you know what I'm saying? So I had to speak to them.
There you go. And what's the the actual URL of your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is Curtbone TV. My Instagram is Curtbone_DC. Did I say YouTube? Curtbone TV is my YouTube channel, and my Instagram is Curtbone_DC.
There you go. Well, Curtbone, I appreciate you coming in, man. You are an important part of a very interesting part, time in D.C. And, I think it's a time that I don't think will ever happen again because this is the 80s and it's the lawlessness of that era. There was no one had cell phones back then.
Right.
There were no video cameras back then. There were no satellites, and everything else there.
Right.
Like, back then you could get away with a murder, if no one saw you and you didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
These days, that's not really possible in the same regard.
The ring camera, the ring camera is doing more work than the police doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And the internet will, the internet detectives will put the pieces together before the police will.
Right, yeah.
The police actually have I remember I interviewed, this one guy who's at NYPD, Corey Pegues. He says that in the NYPD, there's 30 or 40 people that just sit on social media all day long and just sit there and use that information to help solve their crimes.
And crack code.
That's all they do. These are full-time jobs for police officers to sit in front of social media and go through Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And let me two things real quick before you close out. One, man, I'd love to get you on my show and interview you.
I got you.
If possible, you know what I'm saying?
No,
and number two, I'm in the business now is trying to save lives, kids. I only fuck with kids and old people. The middle got to figure it out. But with that being said, I love to be a consultant with you when you interviewing dudes in my background, because I see a few holes you be missing when you be talking to a lot of them guys, and I like to be a part of that too. You know what I'm saying? Also to help grow my brand. But again, man, we got to save these kids out here. So got to ask some of these guys the right questions so they can take their cape off. Turn the clock Kent.
There you go. Curtbone. Appreciate you coming in and sharing your story, man. Wish you all the best.
My man, Curtbone TV, man. Make sure y'all check me out.
Peace.